Well, thank you, thank you. We got some questions during the break, and then we'll take some time for some formal questions. But hopefully, you all learned something, on that first session. And that first session was really things that we can use to teach you to defend the life of somebody else. But now we're going to kind of shift, and now it's going to be shifting to how we can really protect each of you and help you make good decisions. We all have choices that we make. You made a choice today. Were you going to come here or not? You made a choice today. Am I going to wear my Franklin Central Wrestling t-shirt or not? And you said, yes, I shall wear my Franklin Central Wrestling t-shirt today. So life is filled with choices. There are good choices and there are bad choices. There are choices that don't really matter whether you wear a shirt that says Flashes Franklin Central or whether it's Franklin Central Wrestling. They're choices, but neither one was a bad choice. Well, we're going to talk about choices that you can make which have consequences. And you're at that point in your lives where these are choices that are going to be available to you, and whether you're going to choose to say yes or choose to say no. But we're going to be talking about love, and we're going to be talking about sex. And that true love is going to wait before having sex. But you already know who I am, so we can go through this. But I practice obstetrics and gynecology. I have 2 daughters. I delivered them both. So that's pretty cool, And I love helping dads deliver their own babies. There's nothing that, is more thrilling to me than to see a big burly Marine or a Navy SEAL and say, hold up your hand. He does like this. And I said, you're a size 8. We're going to put some gloves on you. He goes, oh man, no. It's like, come on, we'll walk you through this, So it's amazing. Nothing brings me more joy than having the mom and the dad involved in delivering their own babies. But that's what I do. That's my day. I deliver babies before I got here, and I have patients that'll be in labor when I get back on Monday, and I have partners that are covering for me now. But I love delivering babies because, it's the only time somebody's happy to go to the hospital. Nobody's happy because I get my knee fixed tomorrow, I get it scoped, or I get my gallbladder out or my appendix out. Nobody likes that. Having a baby, it's the only time we're happy when we're going to the hospital. But this is pretty much my day. I will do ultrasounds and I'll see these babies on the inside. That's the head of a little baby right there. But this is what I love doing. That's a little baby, and this guy is a Marine. He's a Marine, and when I said, all right, let's put some gloves on you, he's like, no, wait. I said, let's do it. And so we put on some gloves, and I love the way he's looking down into his baby's eyes. But, it's cool that he got to do that. It's cool that I got to watch him do that. But, it's really cool and impressive. Who took that picture? Mom. So mom is being told, push 2, 3, 4, and she's doing this with us, trying to get us all in the picture together. So mom has got her legs up in the air, and mom is actually taking that picture, and I just love that shot. But that is not created in the image of God right then at the delivery. That baby was created in the image of God 9 months earlier. But guess who that baby is? That's me. That was 57 years ago. Time goes by fast. All of a sudden, when I started at my hospital, I remember all the old guys that were at my hospital. Dr. Turner and Dr. Branch, and Dr. Chaz Horan, the old guys. And now I look back, and guess who's at their age now? Me. All of a sudden, I'm one of the old guys at my hospital. But time goes fast. That was me as a baby. But parenthood isn't really easy. Anybody here have parents? I bet you all have parents, But that's me. Parenthood's not easy. So I apparently didn't like my breakfast, but I hurled it up on my dad. Now this guy, I don't know if we have the volume. Did you guys get that volume going? We're going to skip the ones with audio.
All right, let's do this.
There we go.
You ready? Change your bum.
This is what your parents did for you every single day, and you guys don't appreciate it sometimes.
Get out, dirty girl.
Parenting is not easy. I remember both diapers that I changed, and I did not enjoy either one, I mean, that is for sure. But this is, when you think about a lot of the parts of parenthood you weren't around for, you just don't remember them. But I think this video, when you look at the different characters in this video, I want you to think, which one of these guys is my dad?
This is dad life. It's how we live 24/7, 365. Check me. Gas station glasses, don't care what the masses think about me with my sweet goatee. I'm rocking my Dockers with a cuff and a crease. I got that St. John's Bay and a clip for my piece. I look nice. I got dozens of dollars and that's right. It goes straight to my daughters and my wife. I'm a miracle dad, making magic with the checkbook is a talent I have.
I roll hard in the yard with a 60-inch cut. Zero turn radius, my neighbors say, what? They be driving by, peeping my landscape. Yo, these greens got nothing on my manscape.
Hydrangeas, begonias, crepe myrtles, ornamental turtles.
Hold up, is that a weed in my fescue?
Aw, nah, round up to the rescue. It's the dad life, it's the dad life. Take my daughter to the party, it's the dad life. It's the dad life, it's the dad life. Shooting vids of the kids, it's the dad life. Roll up to the splash pad, 10 a.m. My whole entourage hops out the minivan. We splishy splashy for an hour or two, then it's back to the house, prepping for the barbecue.
Brats, dogs, racker ribs, whatever. Get me on the Weber, man, nobody does it better. Call me Lord of the Grill, I'm king of the coals. Nana's secret recipe, you know how I roll.
1080p, 16 by 9. I'm rocking man cave status with a screen like mine. Keep your peanut butter hands off my 50-inch Vizio. Pop up the corn, roll the Disney video.
Don't you dare close your eyes.
We got Aladdin, Jasmine, Abu, the genie. With kids like mine, everybody wants to be me.
Sing a night song and then it's off to bed. This is the dad life, no more to be said. It's the dad life, it's the dad life. Hit the mall, coaching ball, it's the dad life. It's the dad life, it's the dad life. Playing rough, fixing stuff, it's the dad life. It's the dad life, it's the dad life. Yeah, you know how we do it, it's the dad life.
All right, how many's dad was the guy in the lawnmower? Has anybody got a zero turn radius? Yeah, how about the grill master? Whose dad was a grill? There we got the grill masters. So I always challenge churches, see if your pastors, youth pastors, can't come up with their own version of it's a dad's life for you sometimes. But we didn't have Roombas. That was me on our version of a Roomba a long, long time ago. But then I was involved in sports too, went to camp. Haluwasa was the camp that our church pretty much went to, and that was Hallelujah, What a Savior was Camp Haluwasa. And that was my Studley camp counselor when I was there. But then you grow up and you get into surfing, and that's when you decide to move down to Florida. But then you fall in love and you get married, and then you have kids. So that's why we're here. We want to make this transition real easy for you, going from your time here in high school to adulthood, because decisions that you're going to be making now over the next several years are going to really affect your life later on. And I've already seen by some of the questions that you all have asked that we'll address later, can consequences happen to me? What can happen to my future spouse? Can I have a decision that I made now that will affect the life of my baby in the future? And yeah, we're going to go through those. So we're going to help you make not only smart medical choices, we want you to make godly choices, because the principles that God laid down in Scripture are still in play. Just because society might be changing, I mean, it was real easy. And male and female created he them. That's what the Scripture says. And we didn't have any questions on that. Now, all of a sudden, People have gone plumb crazy, and they don't know about male and female created he, them. God created two genders, and that was male and that was female, because choices have consequences. Did y'all anybody ever get taught how to cross the street, or did y'all just learn it all on your own? Anybody ever just run across the street and just go, I'm going to pray about this, but I'm just going to run across? No. You were taught by somebody. Look left, look right, look left again. And then if it's clear, go ahead and cross the road. We're going to take this to another step, and we're going to teach you about what happens when you don't make a good choice. Bad choice. Bad choices can have consequences. Do you ride your bike down the escalator? I mean, it should be obvious that wasn't a smart choice. Just like using your slides while you're going to be on the treadmill. Probably not a good choice. So there are good choices and there are bad choices. But even sometimes our bad choices have some consequences, just like that. So we want to get you guys to know that there are choices that you're going to be making, that some of them can have risks, and when things have risks, sometimes there can be consequences. And we want you all to make wise decisions, because what is the job that has been given to your parents? What's the job that has been given to your pastors? Proverbs 22:6, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart. That's your parents' job. That's your church's job. That's the adult's job in your church, to give you the biblical principles, and that we should not deviate from those. Because who invented sex? It was God. God created it, and it was good, but God put a couple rules on there. Male and female created he them, and then God blessed them. And he said to them, be fruitful and multiply. Well, were Adam and Eve supposed to be fruitful and multiply? Were they just supposed to go to Amazon and do like an Amazon Prime and have a baby boy delivered? No. God said be fruitful and multiply, and that was through sex. So there wasn't anything wrong with sex. God laid down some principles, and the principles that God laid down and the rules that God laid down weren't just to make life tough and unenjoyable. God laid down principles to protect us. Just like looking left, looking right, looking left again before you just run across the highway is there to protect you. It's there to protect your life. If something was wrong 1,000 years ago, if something was wrong 5,000 years ago, it's still wrong. Just like, with this example, if your answer is wrong, it's still wrong. So listen to their answers.
Homemade waffles? No, still time. Everybody else, Christine?
Homemade waffles?
Still not that.
So if the answer homemade waffle wasn't right before, guess what? You might say it louder, but homemade waffle is still not the right answer. So our job today is to help you answer questions, not only for yourself, but also somebody who you might be interested in or maybe even having a little bit of a friendship with, so that you know how to answer those questions. Because some people, they just don't know how to answer a question. This girl has asked a question, and this should really be a pretty simple question, but she did not know how to answer the question.
Okay. Recent polls have shown a fifth of Americans can't locate the U.S. on a world map. Why do you think this is?
I personally believe that U.S. Americans are unable to do so because some people out there in our nation don't have maps, and I believe that our education, such as in South Africa and Iraq, everywhere such as, and I believe that they should, our education over here in the U.S. should help the U.S. Or should help South Africa and should help the Iraq and the Asian countries, so we will be able to build up our future for our.
Thank you very much.
Did she do a good job answering that question? I think she did a real poor job. You know who's my hero in that? The guy. How the guy didn't crack a smile and just start laughing is just pretty impressive to me. But the real key, God laid down instructions for us in the scriptures. And the scriptures are there to help us. And we need to follow those instructions. Because sometimes if we don't follow obvious instructions and guidance, there's a consequence. there's a consequence. You know, hire a professional and get professional advice. Not good. And here's a real key. Don't risk your life because you're in a hurry. This video is really scary, and this guy came really close to not living just because he was in a hurry. He wasn't following directions. But he's on this barge. This barge is coming in, and I want you to watch this guy right here. They're saying wait until it comes to a complete stop, but he's in a hurry. Watch the edge here. He almost got cut in two. Why? He just wouldn't wait and follow directions. So we want to think first before we make decisions, because you're going to be making some real important decisions. Did this person think first? If it says maximum height 9 feet and your truck is 10 feet and you said, I can make it, you know, do you think that's a good idea? No, he didn't think. Did this guy, well, I can't remember. Is it boat first or is it truck first? I can't remember. Should I call somebody and get some advice? Or I think it's truck first, you know. He did not think well, you know. Now this guy, is he thinking this one through? Now what happens if you think things through and you plan and you take advice? How's this guy going to do with all those balls? He's planned. He's thought it through. He planned, he thought it through. Can y'all do that? I couldn't do that. He planned so well, he even put little jump ropes around the base of each one so that it wouldn't roll around. So, can we be successful when we plan? Yeah. Can we be successful when we think things through ahead of time? Yeah. And so, the one guy on the balance beam did not plan. He did not. I think he's still doing poorly after that event. I think he has a new sport, you know. But it's important to think about your path. How many of y'all are seniors in high school? All right, what are you doing next year? Where? Any idea? Oh, Pensacola Christian, you thinking? Great school. Stop by and see us at the office. What about you? Pensacola Christian? Did I just find the Pensacola Christian row? And what class are you going to study at Pensacola Christian? Somebody is different. All right, who else is a senior? All right, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Very good. Do you have any idea where you want to go? Any idea what you want to study yet? All right, good. So you got a plan. What would you like to do? Well, you'll figure it out. But it's all about trying to figure out and how to plan. And if you don't apply to Pensacola Christian, are you all just going to be able to show up first day and just say, I'd like to come here? No. They're going to go, first of all, we got a big fence around here, and you're not going to be able to get into the fence there at Pensacola Christian if you didn't apply. You know, well, I'd like to stay in the dorms, and I'd like to study biblical literature. Well, if you didn't apply, if you didn't go through the process, and you didn't have a plan, you're not going to be able to achieve your goal. But when it comes to plans, we've got to think where we are going. This girl not really thinking about, what am I planning? What am I doing? I'm going to look up, and I'm going to... Yeah. And this girl is in the mall. She's shopping for something, and it's real important. Maybe she's watching a TikTok from Dr. Lile, and she's not paying attention. If you're not looking and planning where you're going, there's going to be a consequence. Who likes Snickers? Anybody like Snickers? I need 6 people up here real quick for a Snickers. Can you do me a favor? Come on up here real quick. I got Snickers bars. Who wants a Snickers? Come on. Nobody wants a Snickers? Come on up here. Come on. I got 6. I got 6. All right, just grab a Snickers, open it up, but leave the wrapper up here before you up. See? They all had plenty of time, but they didn't plan. I said there were 6. Just throw them on the floor. Throw them on the floor. No worries. Just throw them on the floor. Uh-oh. All right. Oh, he opened it. He ate it. So when it comes to just a little bit of trash, I mean, it's just a little bit of trash, right? It's just a little dirty on the stage. I mean, I'm not going to get in big trouble with the pastor, am I? Maybe, but it's just a little dirty. But that's how it starts. When it starts with just a little bit dirty, look at this family. Whoop. Let me go back.
This is our main living room. We eat in here. We get a lot of fast food. Sometimes we get things that we can microwave, and when we're done, the paper plates, the cups, the pizza boxes go on the floor. It's not good, but that's the truth. Oh, this is awful.
We barely use our kitchen anymore because our fridge stopped working a few years ago, and now our dishwasher doesn't work properly because this thing is stopped up.
With no sink, you don't have a dishwasher, no dishes means you can't cook, so we don't. The only thing that I really do use in here, we use the microwave, but it is supposed to, so it really needs cleaning. And I have 3 coffee pots. It's easier to buy a new coffee pot than it is to clean a really dirty one.
The reason we buy new coffee pots is because when they get dirty, they get a lot of maggots in them, and that's not something you really want to put your lips to.
Do you think when they rented that house or when they first moved in, it looked like that? No. Do you think maybe it started with a Snickers bar wrapper, 1 candy bar wrapper, and then or 1 McDonald's cup? Yeah. So you guys are at a real precious stage of your lives, and we want your life and your future not to kind of end up looking like that apartment. We want you guys to keep it nice and clean and nice and pure, because that is what God set down, these principles. You're not just making sexual purity a lifestyle for you, but it's because you love your spouse enough that you probably have never even met, that you want to be able to give that gift to them on your wedding day and say, you know what? I am walking down the aisle either to you or I'm down here at the aisle waiting for you. And I didn't even know you years ago when I started to make good decisions so that we could enter into our marriage and not have to worry about a little bit of trash and a little bit of, dirtiness. Fire. Who likes a campfire? What do y'all like to do around a campfire? Okay, so if you've got these, what are the other 2 ingredients you need? Oh, you mean like that? Yeah, just a little bit of a chocolate bar, a little bit of a graham cracker. Who came up with that? You wonder, who actually had that idea? That's like, you know what, I think I got a marshmallow I'm going to roast, and I'm going to put a little Hershey bar in there, and what we got left? We got 1 graham cracker. Well, what am I going to do with a graham cracker? We make s'mores. So you can't make them. Did I say graham cracker? I think I did. All right. So is fire good or bad? If you can make s'mores, fire's got to be good, right? And we love fire. We love singing around the fire. We love going to campgrounds and having fire. So fire's got to be good, right? Well, if fire is so good, what about that? Should we make s'mores in our living room on the couch? Yeah. Then it happens like this. Is this good or bad? Do you want to send a text to your dad and say, well, how's the day been? Well, had a little problem here. What kind of a problem? Well, we were making s'mores. In the fire pit? No, we decided we'd try the couch. Well, what happened? Well, we burned the house down. So fire can be good, but fire can be bad. But how can something be both? Well, if you have fire in your fire pit, that's good. What happens if you don't have fire in your fire pit and you have it on your couch? That's bad. So what's the difference? What does a fire pit offer that your couch doesn't offer? It offers something really important. It offers a boundary. So is sex good or is sex bad? Well, it depends on the boundaries. Well, when it comes to sex, what kind of boundaries could there possibly be for having a sexual relationship with somebody else? God laid it down. He said, you know what? I'm going to give you, fire is good and you can make s'mores, and as long as you keep fire in the boundaries of a fire pit, It's going to be good and it's going to be enjoyable and nobody's going to get burned. He says, I'm going to give you sex. I want you to be fruitful and multiply. And don't forget, when God said be fruitful and multiply, that was in Genesis 1. Where did Adam and Eve fall? Where did they have sin? That was Genesis 3. So when everything was perfect between God and Adam and Eve, he said to be fruitful and multiply. So there's nothing wrong with sex. It's very enjoyable. God gave it as a gift. But it's got to stay in those boundaries, and those boundaries are in marriage. In Hebrews 13:4, did God say that there's something wrong and bad and dirty about sex? No. God said that marriage is honorable and that the bed is undefiled. God's saying, I'm giving you an amazing gift, and it's called sex. And as long as you keep it within the boundaries, you're going to enjoy it, and it's not going to cause any problems. But you go out of those boundaries, then there can be consequences. That's what I'm going to deal with on Monday. I'm going to deal with in my office, people have had consequences. And they've made decisions this weekend. They might have made a decision tonight that I'll see them next week sometime. And now we're going to be talking about the consequences that they are now experiencing because they had made a bad decision this weekend. Because you might say, well, you don't understand the pressure. It's really tough making good decisions. You talk about sexual purity, but nobody does that. Yeah, they do it all the time. I have lots of my patients who have they are 23, 24, 25, 26, 28, 30 years old, and they've waited until they've gotten married. And you know what? They can enter into that marriage and they know that there's no baggage and they're not going to hurt anybody. They're not going to hurt their future spouse and they're not going to hurt their future baby. I've had patients we've gone to their weddings knowing that this guy and this girl that are walking down the aisle have maintained that sexual purity. I've been to weddings where not only did the couple maintain that sexual purity, but the pastor who is marrying them, he and his wife maintained that sexual purity. They actually, Chris and Jennifer were, a pastor in our church. They were your age. They went through a talk just like this when they were kids from 7th grade. We did it from 7th grade until 12th grade in our church. And then both of my daughters went through that class. They both maintained that sexual purity. You think it's tough sometimes talking about sex? Wait till your little 7th grade daughter is there in the class and you're talking about sex. All of a sudden, I've been doing that talk for years, and we'd even use a lot of graphic pictures. And all of a sudden, I got my perfect little daughter in there, and it was a little bit challenging. But the pastor and his wife and the couple that he was marrying had made the same kind of a pledge when they were your age at an event just like this. And when they got married, they had no issues. And I deal with issues and complications. What's that? You been to the Ark Encounter? Anybody here been to the Ark Encounter? Pretty amazing. And how long did it take Noah to do that? Remember how many years it took? 120 years. How many people did Noah have in his total group that was with him? 8. How many people were on the earth? 8 billion. Do you think all those 8 billion every day for 120 years were making fun of Noah? Noah, you're an idiot. You're stupid. Why are you building a big boat? Yeah, 120 years. You think it's tough making good decisions in high school and making good decisions in college. That's almost 8 years. For some people, college was the longest 7 years of my life, But 8 billion people making fun of him for 120 years. Do you think Noah's kids were like, Dad, this whole big boat thing, do you really want to keep on doing this? Yes, it's the right thing to do. So if Noah can build a boat for 120 years, you can maintain your sexual purity until it's time for you to get married. When it comes to your body's amazing. I mean, I have put scopes in and I've opened up hundreds and hundreds of women, and their bodies are amazing. But guess what? They're really delicate. Doesn't take much to damage the inside. And decisions that you are making now can affect if you can even have a baby in the future. I have lots of patients who are having problems with infertility. They made a decision, they might have gotten an infection like gonorrhea or chlamydia, and it scarred their tubes. And then 10 years later, they want to they get married and they want to have a baby. But the decision that they made back in high school, it could have scarred their tubes, makes it so they can't get pregnant. That's what we are trying to avoid with you by having you make smart decisions. Because adult decisions have adult consequences. These are some people who didn't make great decisions. They didn't follow God's guideline. Half of girls these days are going to be sexually active before they turn 18. With guys, it's about 2/3 of guys are going to have had sex before they turn 18. Every 10 seconds, a teenager is going to have sex for the first time. 9% are going to lose their virginity and have sex for the first time before they turn 13. These are patients that I am seeing, and these numbers are true. I see this all the time. STDs, sexually transmitted disease. So if it's sexually transmitted, do you get this just by casually talking to somebody, shaking their hand? No, it's sexually transmitted. That's in the definition. There's gonorrhea, chlamydia, syphilis, trichomonas, herpes, HIV, and we're just going to go over a few of these. 65 million, there are 300 million Americans, 65 million have been infected with at least one sexually transmitted disease. They deviated from God's plan. 19 million new STDs each year. 4 million of them are going to be teens, so every day 11,000 teenagers will get diagnosed with a STD, 11,000 every single day. When it comes to sexually active teens, people say, I've been sexually active for 1 year. What's the chance of somebody getting an STD just during that 1 year? Each year, 25%. So if this is a year and all of you are sexually active, everybody from here over by the end of this year will have been infected with one sexually transmitted infection. And then that increases each year after that. Herpes. Let's just talk about 2 infections. Herpes. One of the questions, the reason we put this one up is somebody had put up on a question on the QR code, can herpes, this virus infection, can that be passed on to a baby? And we're going to talk about that. Herpes is a virus. 45 million people in the United States have been infected with herpes. 1/3 of those people don't even know that they've been infected with herpes. There are almost 1 million new cases each year. 15% of all Americans have been infected with herpes, but most of them don't even know it. Blisters, pain, and they come back. There are some infections like gonorrhea and chlamydia. You get it once and we can treat it, it doesn't come back. Herpes is not one of those. Herpes is an infection that look at how this timeline works. Somebody can make a bad decision when they're in high school and they can get infected with herpes. And then we treat it. But then 4 months later, they get an outbreak of herpes again. 5 months later, they get another outbreak. This can continue for years and years and years. Can it infect a baby in the future? Yeah. If somebody is pregnant and they have one of these recurrent herpes outbreaks, first, we're always concerned that it can infect the baby, but also we have to do a C-section if they have an outbreak at the time of when they're in labor. So but it's not, and why do we do a C-section? Because the virus can infect the baby. And actually it goes to the baby's brain. It causes something called herpetic encephalitis, where a baby has a herpes infection in the brain. And unfortunately, we've still had babies in our hospital die from this herpes infection in the brain. Did baby make a bad decision? No. Did baby deviate from God's standards? No. Unfortunately, mom made a bad decision back when she was maybe in high school or college, and she got infected with this virus called herpes. She got infected, and that became part of her body. And then we treated it, but we can't make it go away. We can just sort of help it when you have an outbreak, guys and girls. But then she falls in love, she gets married, and then she wants to have a baby. She gets pregnant. Hallelujah, she got pregnant. But then a decision that she made back in high school, 10 years later, can infect the health of the baby. Baby didn't do anything wrong. We're just trying to help y'all not to make some bad decisions. God laid out good decisions. You stick with the good decisions, then you don't have to worry about these consequences. That's why God gave us these rules. But then there's a virus called HPV, and that's human papillomavirus. And there's a vaccine against it. Guess what? It's not perfect. It's kind of like, did you ever hear of somebody getting COVID after the COVID vaccination? Well, how did the president get COVID? He got vaccinated. How did Fauci get COVID? He was vaccinated, because vaccinations aren't perfect. They can help, but they sure aren't perfect. There's a vaccination for HPV, human papillomavirus, but it's only about 70% effective. It's the most common of all the sexually transmitted infections. Well, what does it do? Well, there are 80 million Americans that are infected with HPV. We know there are 130 different strains. We know that 13 of them can cause cancer. Do you know you can actually get cancer, men and women, from a virus from sexually transmitted? There is a sexually transmitted virus that can cause cancer, and that is human papillomavirus. And it can affect many. a virus doesn't land in one area and say, well, what do you know? How did I get here? This isn't where I wanted to be. No, a virus can cause an infection and can cause cancer no matter where it lands. Yes, this virus can cause warts. Yes, there is a vaccination. Yes, there's 340,000 cases each year of warts alone, but cervical cancer. And can that happen in somebody that's young? Yeah. These are not just stats that I'm pulling down from the internet. I'm going to show you some of my patients. All right, with my patients. This is a girl who had an exam. She got referred over to me, and we did an exam because she had an exam by her primary care doctor, and they called a pap smear, looking for screening for cervical cancer. And it came back atypical. You think, it's just atypical. It's not precancerous. It's just atypical. So I did a biopsy. But she had already been exposed to this virus. They tested her for the virus, and she had been exposed to HPV already. So I did a biopsy. I took her to the office, and we did a biopsy, and we got the pathology back. This is her pathology. I did 3 biopsies because it looked pretty bad. 2 of those 3 biopsies came back as what's called CIN3. CIN1 is mild precancerous. CIN2 is moderate precancerous. CIN3 is severe precancerous. The next step is cancer. She came back in 2 biopsies, CIN3. Can you see how old she is? Can you read that? 14. That's my patient. She's 14 years old. She has 2 areas which on her cervix have severe precancerous changes. It's not that, well, maybe we'll just follow it. No, the next step is it's a cancer. So we had to take her to the operating room. We had to do surgery. Is she an isolated case? No. This is another patient. CIN3, severe precancerous cells. Can you see how old this girl is? Let me see where it is up here. Right there. How old is she? She's only 15 years old. Anybody here 15 or older? She's now also gone to the operating room, and we've done surgery on her for severe precancerous changes. Because when it comes to cervical cancer, 4,000 people die of cervical cancer each year. And yes, we can treat it, but it's still a deadly cancer. So we have to treat it when it's still in that precancerous change. So it's not just, I'm going to get an infection, need to get antibiotics, or I'm going to get an infection, I might spread it to a partner. It's really your life and your health that we're concerned about, and that's why you are here today. Just like you were taught how to cross the road, you were taught how to ride a bike. We're just trying to follow godly principles. So is it just sexual intercourse? You say, well, we're only going to do this, but we're not going to have actual sex. Well, here's the question. Sexual immorality, is it just intercourse? Well, is it holy? Is it honorable? Think about, would God put a label on what I'm doing as holy? Would he put a label on it as honorable? Or the other way, would you behave in the same way with your girlfriend or with your boyfriend if their parents were there in the living room with you? And you think, would I do this with her dad sitting there? The guy who's cleaning his shotgun at the time? Probably wouldn't do that right then. Mark 10:6-8. God made them male and female, and man should leave his father and mother and be united with his wife, and the 2 become one flesh. That's the way God designed it. 1 Corinthians 6:18, when it comes to sexual temptation, and we're all going to have sexual temptation. What does God say? Does he just say casually kind of walk away? Does he say just sort of back up? No, he uses the word flee from sexual immorality. All other sins, like if you steal from somebody, does that hurt if you steal from somebody? Nah, it doesn't hurt you. Maybe you got a free Snickers out of it by ripping a candy bar out of somebody else's hand after he's already unwrapped it. So that doesn't hurt you. But other sins a person commits are outside of the body. But whoever sins sexually sins against their own body. You steal a Snickers bar? Well, he didn't get a Snickers bar, and you did something wrong by taking his Snickers bar. But when it comes to sex, even thousands of years ago, when you commit a sexual sin, God's saying it's going to hurt your own body. But it can not only hurt your body, it can help hurt your spouse's body, or it can hurt your baby's body. 1 Thessalonians 3:3-4, and it starts off and it says, these are a few verses on how to live in order to please God. Anybody here want to please God? Yeah. So if you read a verse and it says, hey, I'm going to give you a couple steps on how to please God. Do you stop reading there? Nah, you want to read the rest of it. What does it say? It is God's will that you should be sanctified, set apart, that you should avoid sexual immorality, that each of you should learn to control their own body in a way that is holy and honorable, not in a passionate way for those that don't know God. So if you want to please God, when you're going to follow God's standards. 1 Corinthians 15:33. Don't be misled. Bad company corrupts good character. How do you translate that? Bad company corrupts good character. What does that mean? Show me your friends and I'll show you your future. If you're hanging out with like-minded people, you're much more likely to make good decisions. That's why we have youth groups. That's why we have leaders in youth groups, to have like-minded people to think alike and support each other, because we really want to make good decisions. And you say, well, I trust him or I trust her, but do you trust him enough for your own health? Do you trust him enough to affect your future fertility and having a baby? Do you trust him enough that really looking at the possibility of increasing the risk of cancer? We don't see cancer in people who've not been exposed to the virus HPV. It's making good decisions. It's my body, I'll do with what I want to. Well, we already talked about that when it comes to abortion, and that baby on the inside is not your body. But what about when it comes to sex? It's my body, I'll do with what I want to. Well, does God have a verse for that? Yeah, all the answers to all the questions we have are in the Bible. Sometimes we just don't take the time to go and find them. But in 1 Corinthians it says, what, know ye not that your body is the temple of the Holy Ghost which is in you? For you are bought with a price. Therefore glorify God in your body and your spirit, which are your own, to do what you want to. Now, which are God's? What does it mean when you were bought with a price? What was the price that was paid for you? Anybody know? If you're saved, you were bought with the blood of Jesus. So if your body belongs to God, it's not your decision and you can do with it whatever you want. In fact, your body is the temple of the Holy Ghost who lives in you. And you think, well, I've already done X or I've already done Y. Look at Paul's life. You know, just because somebody says, well, I've already done this, I'm kind of DQ'd on this one. No. Paul, what was Paul doing? Paul was going around and killing Christians. Is that bad? On the list of, is that considered sinful, bad activity if you're going around killing Christians? Paul was there and everybody else was getting to kill and stone Stephen. Paul said, man, give me your coats. Man, I'll hold on to your coats. Was that wrong? Yeah. But then did Paul have an amazing experience on the road to Damascus with Jesus himself? Yeah. What did Paul say? Paul had a real bad past. But what did Paul say? He knew that he met Jesus, he had a relationship with Jesus, and he had been forgiven. And Paul said, I'm from New Jersey. How do we say this in Jersey? We say, forget about what lies behind and press on towards what's ahead. So we've all made bad decisions. We've all said stuff that I'm like, why did I say that? I shouldn't have said it. Forget about those things which are in our past, because you've been forgiven. And that's the amazing thing, love. God loved us enough that he sent his son to come down to earth, to live a perfect life, to give his life for us on the cross, be buried 3 days, dead, not just merely dead, but really most sincerely dead for 3 days. And then he conquered death, and if we put our trust in him, we can have eternal life. That's how much God loved us. So things and bad decisions we made in the past, it's like, you know what? That was wrong. Man, I shouldn't have said that, and I shouldn't have done that. Forget about it and just press on towards what you're living now, and that's the important thing. It's all about forgiveness. That's why we have church. It's the message of the gospel. So how do we make these good decisions? We have events like this where you have other people that have made these decisions with you. Write it down. Say, you know what? I'm going to make a commitment now that when I get married, then I'm going to have sex. And I hope that, and I pray that my spouse is, my wife and I, for years, we didn't know who our daughters were going to marry. But guess what? We were praying to God and saying, somewhere out there are 2 couples that are raising young men who will someday marry our daughters. We just pray that they do a good job. We hope that they have raised godly men that will someday marry our daughters. But get together with like-minded friends. Show me your friends and I'll show you your future. No alcohol. Most of the people that I see in my office who've made bad decisions and were having to treat for consequences from bad decisions, there was alcohol involved. They went to a party. They started having some drinks. They might have said, I'm going to make good decisions. Alcohol denies you the opportunity to make good decisions. And think about your future and pray about this issue, because that's when we can have the power to pray to God who created the universe. That's an important thing for us to have, because true love really waits. Yes, we are here to talk about your body and protect your body, and pregnancy is not a consequence. Pregnancy happens, but that's not a consequence. That is not bad. It was not part of your plan, but it's not that this was a consequence and so I have to get an abortion. Absolutely. What is a consequence? Consequence is going to be as far as deviating from God's plan, as far as, having a sexually transmitted infection, gonorrhea, chlamydia, syphilis, trichomonas, herpes, HPV, HIV. All those things are consequences. We want you to be able to get married, be happy, have sex 3, 4, 5 times a day, 7 times a week, and never have to worry about it. Because sex in and of itself is beautiful, but it has to stay in those boundaries. Because if it's really love and you love your future spouse, who you probably haven't even met yet, if you love that future spouse that you're going to spend the rest of your life with, then now is the time to make a good decision. Say, you know, I didn't even know who you were, but when you get married on that day and you go on your honeymoon, you can say, didn't know you, but I loved you enough that I wanted to make a good decision for you long, long time ago.